Hi everyone, welcome back to Feather Stitch House. My name's Rebecca and each week on this channel I make videos about embroidery and textile art to help you get creative. We're in week 30 of our Winging It project this year, Pick of the Pots. Each week I take a pick out of my 3 plant pots. The first contains colours, the second contains shapes and the third contains stitches. And we use those picks to help us create a piece of improvised textile art. It's really low pressure. You can pick this project up and put it down whenever you like. The whole point is to get you stitching and having fun with fabric and thread. It's not the only stitch along that I've been running this year. I have been running a project called Postcards from the Hedge over on Ko-fi, and on the 1st of August it's coming to YouTube via memberships. If you're interested in joining that, there is more information in a video that I will link up here, along with a flip through of the first half of the project. And you can join memberships even today. Just go to the main page of this channel and you should see next to the button that says subscribe, you should see a join button. Click on that and you'll get more information about the project. Anyway, I think it's time to make something, so I'm going to head into my studio and let's get picking.
Right, we're back with the Pots of Destiny. I can see the bottom in this one. We're heading towards the end. I don't know, once you pass that week 26, I know we haven't got very many more weeks, but once you passed week 26, feels like the downhill stretch. Right, let's pick our colour. What's it going to be? Peacock. Oh, good. A nice bright colour after our earthy tones of last week. So peacock, whatever you interpret from that. I've got some fabric that I think will work really nicely. What's our shape going to be? Appliqué. Okay, so this is a patchwork shape, sometimes known as an axe head, but sort of curved top and bottom and then curving in at the side. So appliqué is our shape, and what's our stitch going to be? Be good, be good. Granitos. I love granitos. Oh, what a great pick. Don't know how we're going to do appliqué, but this is going to be a really textured one. So we've got peacock colour. So you could do peacock blue, or you could do the colours of peacock feathers. So bring in some sort of jade green and purples in there if you want to. So peacock. Appliqué is our shape and granitos is our stitch. So I'll demonstrate granitos and then we'll get making something. Well, I'm excited about this one. Right, I'll be back soon. Right, this one is going to be quite a quick demo because it's actually a really simple stitch. It's made out of straight stitches and they're just stitched very close together in a particular way. So we're going to start by coming up through the fabric, and I want to make a little tiny vertical straight stitch. So maybe 1/2 centimetre, 1/8 of an inch, something like that. And pull through. So we've got a tiny little stitch there in our fabric, and now I want to come up at my starting point, so the same place that that first stitch began, and I want to make another stitch. So I'm going to go back in at the same point I went back in before, but I'm going to use my nail to just steer this stitch over to the right of that first stitch. So it's going to sit alongside the stitch that I just made. Now we're going to come up at that starting point again, and this time back down at the same point again. This time I'm going to use my nail to steer it over to the left. So now we've got 3 stitches sitting next to each other and forming a little bit of an oval. So you can leave it there, but I prefer 5 stitches. So back up at our starting point again, back down at the bottom of the stitch, and we're going to steer the thread over to the right and then up at the starting point, down at the bottom of the stitch, and we're going to help that stitch sit to the left. And that is a Granito. And if I turn the fabric to the side, you'll see that it sits up a little bit proud off the surface. Really hard to film it. So it's quite a textured stitch. So the word Granito literally means grain, and they do look like little grains, like pearl barley, they remind me of, sitting on the surface. You can go left first if you want to. It doesn't matter which direction you go first, as long as you alternate left to right. So done my centre stitch, over to the left, over to the right, over to the left, and over to the right. So that is a Granito. So super quick demo. Really lovely stitch. Let me just show you, because I did this in my stitch alphabet book. So this is loads of Granitos here, and you can see how textured they are. Makes a lovely texture in your work. There's more down here, and I think they're fabulous. So yeah, Granitos. I hope you love them as much as I do. I think they'll be quite easy to use in this piece, so I'm gonna give it some thought and then we'll come back and make something. Right, I'm really excited. This is going to be good, this one. Really simple but good. So this is my base felt. Not going to do anything with that for a minute. This is what I mean by an apple core. So I just got this pack of templates. I think I got them off Amazon. They're not very expensive. And these are quite big. I did think about doing a really small one, but I thought it would just be quite fiddly to show you. So I don't even know what size these are. So this is 60 mils in length, or 1 inch across the centre. And they tessellate really nicely. So the curves slot together. Let's get a few more out to show you. So you can tessellate them really nicely like that, and they just form a really gorgeous pattern. Hopefully you can see how that works there. So offset them, one vertical, one horizontal, and then reverse it on the next level. You can also combine them with like an eye shape like that, and make a line of apple cores like that. So I did think about doing a line of apple cores like that. If we got seed stitch, I probably would have done that and then seed stitched in the holes, but we didn't. We got Granitos. I suppose you could do that with Granitos. But I thought, I had these templates, I thought it's a good opportunity to show English paper piecing, because we haven't done that yet. Look at my fabric. Oh my goodness, isn't it gorgeous? So it's peacock tails. So as soon as I pulled peacock out, I thought I have to use this fabric, and I just absolutely love it. So I'm going to show you how to do English paper piecing. So I'm going to take one of my templates like this. I'm going to glue base just for speed, and I find it really helpful to just put a dab of glue, this is just fabric glue, on the back of the piece, the template piece, and just hold it in place. So if you had a plastic template, I do have one, but I thought we could use the paper formers instead. If you have a plastic template, they often come with a hole in the middle. So the middle is your template piece and the outside of the plastic is where you cut the fabric, but I'm just going to eyeball this. So what I want to do is draw around, you won't be able to see this line particularly well for a minute or so until the ink dries, with about a 1/4 inch seam allowance. So you don't have to be absolutely exact because this is what's going to fold around the paper former. So English paper piecing is a kind of patchwork that uses paper formers to create the shapes, and it's almost foolproof because the paper determines the shape. You don't have to make everything super precise because the paper is the precise bit. So if you're cutting your own formers, you do have to be fairly precise with those. But if you're using pre-cut or die-cut formers, the former will do a lot of the work for you. So that ink is just drying and becoming a little bit clearer. I'm just going to roughly cut out this shape so that I'm not working on so much fabric, and I wonder if you can see the line yet. Maybe I should have done it in a different colour. Can you see it enough? Hope so. Let's go round this way and then this line will, surely that's visible now. Right, I'm gonna cut out around my template with a bit of seam allowance. So hopefully this will show you how straightforward it is. And a lot of people are scared of doing patchwork with curves, but I'm going to show you an easy way of getting a really good finish. So a lot of people start English paper piecing with hexagons. If hexagon is in that pot, maybe we'll do it again because it's my favourite shape to do English paper piecing with. But there are loads of shapes. We could do clamshell. I think we did a former for the clamshell prompt back in March or April, whenever it was, but we didn't join it to anything. So I'm going to glue based just because of ease. Often when you get these pre-cut ones, I don't know if the camera will pick it up, trying to angle it right, it's ever so slightly shiny. I wonder if you can get the sheen. Can you see the sheen there moving around? Just about. And so it will take glue, but that glue will detach really easily because they're not really absorbent. So we're going to start with the top ends. I am not an expert on this. This is just what works. So I'm just going to put a little layer of glue using the colour glue, and I don't have to snip this at all. Just going to fold the fabric and kind of allow it to pleat as it goes around. So I'm working from one side to the other, allowing that fabric to kind of pleat up and take up the excess, because obviously this line here is longer than this line here, so there's excess fabric that we need to accommodate. So those little pleats will just allow that curve to form. Look at how beautiful that curve is. So we just have to manipulate the fabric a little bit to get it to go into the shape that we want. So I'm just folding the edges round, allowing it to pleat, and that's those edges done. Now there is a way of doing this where you snip around the edge with pinking shears, and that puts in little curves, and you then just ease the fabric over the edge, but I'm going to do it by snipping. So don't want to go all the way up to the edge, but I'm just going to snip just shy of the paper former, so I definitely don't want to cut the paper former. We're just going to put some little snips in, because this time this line is longer than this line, so we need to add space, and those snips are going to allow some space, extra space in the fabric. So I'm going to start by folding over the corner. I want to make sure that is nice and sharp, so I'm using the former to guide the shape of the fabric, and then I'm going to push the next one in, and can you see that little notch there? That's the extra space that we need. So those snips allow additional space in the fabric, like that. Just want to press it all in place, and then we're going to do the other side. Like that. So again, starting with the corner, tucking that one in first, and honestly it really doesn't matter about the back. The back can be messy, it's okay. Now the reason we don't want to cut right up to the paper is we want a little bit of fabric there ahead of the notch before we get to the edge, because that's going to help us attach one shape to the next. Now, one of the difficulties with curved shapes is that normally with English paper piecing, you'd put right sides together and whip stitch over the edge, but that makes turning it through really difficult, particularly with concave curves. So if I was putting that right sides together, I could only join it at the corner, because when I open it out, there's a hole there, so I can't join that edge. If I'm wanting to tessellate like that, if I put them right sides together, I've still got a curve here where the lines don't match up, and it is possible to do it. You do it by folding and whatever, but there is an easier way. So I've already joined some like this. So I've made a little tessellation here of my shapes, and there's no folding involved, which has a double benefit because I can also reuse these templates. So just want to show you how to do it. We're not going to do it with a whip stitch, we're going to do it with something called a flat back stitch. So we're going to tessellate where we want it to tessellate. So I'm going to put that one there. Should I just turn it the other way around, get some different colours next to each other? I think so, like that. And I'm going to use some wonder clips. You can pin it if you want to. I'm going to use some wonder clips to just hold that in place at the corners. Like that. Right, so I've got some red thread, hopefully you'll be able to see it, and I've come in really close, so my margin for error is not great here. I often drift off, so I will try to watch my monitor and what I'm sewing at the same time. So I've just taken that clip off so that I can get into the corner. So what I want to do, got a knot in my thread, I want to come through the corner of this piece of fabric. We're going to just stitch it flat, and I want to catch the corner of my next piece. So I don't want to stitch through the paper. I want to take my needle through that fold of fabric at the edge on one piece. So if you've got a fold, you need the bit that's folded over and the edge of the fabric that will be on the front, like that. And I want to catch in the corner of my next piece like that and pull through. So we're going to stitch this flat. This is why it's called a flat back stitch. So a bit faffy when you've got that fold there, so you can just hold it out of the way if you want to. I'm just going to come along a little bit and holding it flat. I'm just separating them out just so that you can see. I'm going to catch that folded edge of my first piece, and I'm going to go through the folded edge of my second piece without catching the paper. You'll be able to feel it with your needle that folding over gives you a little bit of space. So I'm going to come along a bit through the folded edges and pull through. And the beauty of flat back stitch is that you cannot see it at all on the front. There's just no sign of it because the stitches are just around the edge of the paper formed piece, and you're going to get a really good finish every single time. So we just keep working our way along. As long as you get that initial corner right, you are going to have no trouble at all with this. So just try and keep your pieces attached together until the last possible moment. I just nudged that and it fell off. So let me just reattach. And the reason for that is when you're English paper piecing, sometimes the pieces can just move against each other a little bit because you're pushing on the pieces as you are making your stitches, and they can just move a little bit, and so when you get to the other end you find that the corners don't join. So try and keep them attached. You can always just put a little stitch at the two corners first and then go back and stitch along. That would be fine. Now here, this is why we need that little bit of fabric. So can you see I've got about 1 millimetre of fabric there between the top of the notch and the edge, and that helps me to be able to catch some fabric to join the pieces together, and it means I won't have a raw edge or a little notch on the front of the fabric. So hopefully you can see those stitches. So we're up to the wonder clip now. I'm just going to remove it, stitch up to the end, and I just need at the very corner to make sure I'm stitching the corners together. So I just need to make sure that I find the corner of this piece here and take a stitch through that, and the very corner of the piece that I'm adding and pull through, and then I'm going to add a knot to hold that in place. And there is absolutely no sign of any stitches, and my shapes are perfectly joined. Now obviously this does not fit on my piece, but I'm going to applique it on, and then we're going to trim the corners off. So I'm going to start off so that I can show you how to remove the papers. I just want to get it centred. So just those prongs poking off the top, and I just want them evenly spaced. So let me show you how I'm going to attach it. We'll take the papers out. I should say actually it's a good idea at this point to press it. I'm living dangerously and I haven't done. So hopefully everything will retain its shape. So I've just got some neutral machine cotton. I've got a grey here. Just pick a starting point, and I'm going to come up from the back of the felt, and I want to catch just that folded edge of the fabric like that, and then I'm going to go back over the edge but tucked in right against the fabric just through the felt. So coming up through the very fold on the edge, let me come back in so that you can see what I'm doing. So up through just the very edge of the fabric, so try not to catch the paper, and down through just the felt. And you don't need these to be super close together, sort of 1/8 of an inch or 1/16 of an inch spacing is fine. Try and keep them neat, particularly if you're using a thread that can be seen. And I recommend on the outside edge making sure you stitch right into the corner, and don't assume that one stitch is enough. You might want to make sure you've stitched the corner of all 3 pieces that join there. I'm just doing the corner of this one and this one, and that should be enough. It's not an item that's going to be used. If you've got any of the tufts of your fold poking through, just nudge them back in with your needle. So it's an applique stitch basically all the way around to hold your shapes in place. I'm not obviously going to go all the way around because we're going to trim this bit off, so I'll stop at the line here and then restart my thread and come back down and stop at the line here, restart. So I'm just stitching the bits that are going to be attached. So I'm going to stitch around this shape and then we'll pause and I'll show you how to remove the papers. Don't stitch all the way around because in one go, because you won't be able to get the papers out. So okay, I'm just posting my needle there. I'm just going to detach this and I'm going to fold back the felt so that I can see the underside, and I just want to run the eye end of my needle underneath those edges. I'm not going to worry if this doesn't stay in shape because I'm going to trim it off, but just want to run my needle underneath those edges to detach them from the paper. Crikey, put a bit too much glue on that one there. They should detach fairly easily. They are. I think I just had a lump of glue. So just peeling it back, you might be better with a thumbnail if that helps, and then I can lift this up as well. Might have stitched too far around, but I just want to loosen that paper. So I'm just digging in to loosen the paper and going around the edge there, and then I can gently release it. So just go gently, don't force it, and that pulls out that paper. Now if you want to, you can cut it. You could also just fold it under like that. I think that's what I'm going to do actually. So I'm just going to turn it under. Should have pressed it. See, living dangerously never works, does it? But I'm just tucking that in there. It's not difficult. Just ease it in. Because we've got a curve that's symmetrical, it's just going to sit quite nicely when you curve it under. Just want a straight edge sitting on that line. And then I'm going to press it. Should have pressed it before, would have made life a lot easier. And then I can go along the top and just whip stitch it, just like I've been doing. So applique stitch up through both layers, down through just the background, and that will hold it in place. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to take this one out next because I can get to it and I've got all of the sides are safe. So that one's going to be an easy one to take out. So I'll take that one out next, and probably stitch this one down, and then I'll make sure I've pressed both of these, take out the side ones and applique it all the way around, and then we'll come and add some embroidery. Right, here we go. I've added in my Appliqué paper piecing and put some running stitch lines around the edge. I did think that if I hadn't put those in, it'd make quite a nice hourglass, wouldn't it? And the granitos would look quite funky as the sort of grains inside the hourglass. I think I'm just going to put a few granitos maybe just in this centre one. I might put some beads in there as well, just playing around really. I've got some pearl cottons in peacock colours. Here I did have a look at peacock feathers, and this is the little collection. So around the eye there tends to be some sort of russety orange, but you've mostly got these sort of purples, jade greens and blacks, which echo what we've got in here. So I've got some purple here first of all. So let's start with a granito up here. I don't want to put so many in that I cover up the fabric, but I want them to be noticeable. And you can play around with different thread weights and different sizes of granito as well for this. But thought maybe a little cluster of granitos in this centre space might look quite nice. And I definitely won't film all of this because there's only so much interest. Watching me do the same thing over and over again can possibly have. So let's just put one more in. I think I'll get one more out of this bit of thread. But that's my 3 so far. So I'm just going to scatter some granitos around this centre one. I think you could go along the lines with granitos. I think that might be quite nice to outline your shape with granitos in different colours. I do like the hourglass idea and I kind of wish I'd done it, but I haven't, so I'm just going to work with what I've got. So I'm going to put in a load of granitos, maybe a few beads, and then I'll come back and show you what it's looking like. Okay, here we go. Here's my finished piece. So this one has all been really about English paper piecing, and the granitos are just a little bit of texture. Did put some beads on. Don't know whether they add anything. Wish they were a bit more glittery, but the ones that I had in colours that worked were fairly matte. So I've just done some running stitch around the edge of these 4 shapes around the outside, filled the centre with loads of granitos, and that's it really. So let's bring in the book. Get a bit of glue. Put it in there like that. And let's put our picks on the back. So we have peacock was our colour, appliqué was our shape, and granitos was our stitch. So I'm really looking forward to seeing what you create with these prompts. I think there's a lot of inspiration there because we've got inspiration potentially from the colour, there's inspiration from the shape, and you can use these to add texture in all sorts of different ways. To me it looks like pebbles, but obviously all grains, but lots of scope there to have a really fun time playing with your stitching. So thank you so much for watching. I hope you've enjoyed that. As always, you can post your creations in our private Facebook group, and there's a link to that in the description below. If you're posting on Instagram, don't forget to use hashtag FSHWingingIt2025, and remember to tag me at Feather Stitch House so that I'm more likely to see your creations. Have a great week with this week's picks, and I will be back again next week with another set of prompts to create something new. I will see you then. Take care and have a good week. Bye.